Good morning, everybody. What's going on? This is another adventure of cryptids and unsolved mysterious adventures and more. I don't really even know if I have a real solid name for this, but all the same, it's fun. I'm having a blast doing it. Love hearing from everybody. What's everybody up to today? Today, we are going to have a very fun show. I got some cool stories of all kinds of...
Now you see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.
I had to. Oh, Linky, and there's Lincoln. Thank you, Linky. He's in a bit of a mood today. I wasn't talking about you, Lincoln. It's okay. Yeah, Oh, everybody. All right, everybody. Say what's up to Lincoln. Good. Yeah, he's in a mood. You should see how way he's looking at me right now. Anyway. That was not a good noise. Anyway. So it's going to be a pretty fun day. I've got a bunch of stuff. It's Friday. I think this is episode, 20 maybe? I don't know. I'm not, I'm going to get that figured out eventually. My astronomy podcast, NoAvaiL Astronomy Podcast. You get all your great astronomy news. Yeah, the best astronomy news in the world. You can't... But I thank you. I know. Hey, what can I know. I know. Hey, I see you back there. Thank you. It's kind. Yeah, so thank you, Lincoln. Oh, that was your little... Okay. Bobby. We all love Lincoln, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sure. I think Lincoln quit. Okay. Okay. Anyway. So, well... Thank you, Lincoln. I love you too, Bubby. Yeah. We all love Lincoln. He's a hell of a dog or not, man. I gotta hand it to him. Yeah, you should see the way he's looking at me right now. Anyway, so on with the show. We got some pretty cool stories today. And then I've got an awesome at the half hour. The real cool story for it. Yeah, man, have you guys ever heard of these sand dune creatures that people are talking about? I mean, listen, I get that all this, it's take it with I get it. But I mean, there's some pretty cool shit out there. I gotta say, I'm fascinated by the whole thing. I'm not really sure how to take it all, but I get pretty fascinated. So anyway, the half-hour story is gonna be cool, so don't miss it. A friend of mine, he's gonna be hitting us up too. It's always at the half hour where my break thing is. But anyway, let's get right all into this. So, to those of you that truly believe you have seen a cryptid, Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, etc., what's your story? Because I love hearing them. Honestly, I do. And I believe every single one of them because I've had some real screwed up things happen. I'm just saying, man. So, yeah, this one, the deleted name. When I was 14 or so in 2003, I saw what looked like an orangutan lemur hybrid watching me from the trees. When it realized I was looking at it, it took off into the trees and disappeared. This was in western North Carolina. Nothing like that should have been around here. For a few years, I looked for articles about someone's escaped exotic pet, but never found anything. Well, And I'm going to tell you, no. Thank you, Lincoln. For a few years, I looked in this article about someone's escaped exotic pet, never found anything. Eventually, we just wrote it off. Years later, I heard a lore store episode about the Pukwudgie, and I immediately got chills because the description matched what I saw. I'm still not sure what happened. Here it goes, my friends.
Here it goes.
A few months ago, I was dumb enough to wander into the same patch of woods. I got nailed by a rock, and when I looked up, I saw a small outline ducking around like what looked like it took off. I don't know what happened, but I also don't really plan on going back. Well, now, you can tell when I read it right, too. Because, yeah. Sorry, it was the orangutan lemurs, man. They'll get you, and especially tonight. So don't close your eyes. Just saying. This one from Langustina. I'm always afraid I'm gonna the name calling the wrong names. It's where I probably am gonna fail. Mention. One night I was driving home at around 2 a.m. and this tiny white creature, I don't like these, probably as tall as a Pringles can, though maybe a bit smaller, walked across the road in front of my car. I couldn't believe what I saw, so I called my then boyfriend and frantically described the creature. He told me that it sounded like the Fresno nightcrawler, and when I got home and I looked it up, that's exactly what it looked like. I had never heard about them before. I do not live in California, not even close. I still have no clue what it was. Some more details about what I saw, because I hadn't thought about it in a while, but it's coming back to me now. The bottoms of its legs. I've heard of this. Actually, this is, yeah, wow. I have read about that before. It looks like a pair of pants walking around. And what do they call this thing? Is a what? Where was that? Sorry. Ba, 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 ba. I've actually saw a video on those on YouTube. You can look those up. Huh. All right. This one from, Ibogonaut. Hey, like Lincoln, that's like your Dogonaut story. About 18 years ago, um, my wife and I were looking out at a Brickell Bay in Miami, Florida, when we saw a humanoid-looking creature wearing what looked like a black rubbery environmental suit just effortlessly gliding through the water waist deep. I shouted, "Do you see it?" There, pointed to it as my wife would see about 50 feet in front of us on a bright sunny afternoon. It looked at us and then started submerging as quickly headed for the bank until it went under and it was out of view. It looked like it was wearing all black, futuristic high-tech equipment. And the really strange part was the bay was over 10 feet deep at the bank, so somehow it could glide through the water with its upper body above the surface. Afterwards, we both were both in shock, and our hearts were racing, beating out of our chests. It had big black eyes and a small nose and mouth. We called it the creature from the Black Lagoon. Wow, why would you call it that? Huh. Well, that's okay. Oh, and I'm telling you. All right. Way too late, but I posted this deep in a comment thread much further down, so I may as well put it here too. I was on a ferry for a school softball trip off Kodiak Island, AK 2014. I was 18. A whole bunch of us had snuck up to the deck around 11 p.m. to watch the waves and smoke cigarettes and weed and generally be teenagers on a boat without supervision. Yeah. That's what I like to. Okay. It was 11 p.m. in May in Alaska, so the sun was thinking about setting, but it was still very bright outside. So we're just doing our thing, and we notice a pod of orcas swimming with the ferry's wake, which is a V cool, but not like unusual. If you're familiar with the dimensions of an orca fin, you know they're about 4 to 6 feet in height and look like big black spikes coming out of the water. They travel and hunt in pods of anywhere between 15 and 40 whales, apex predators. The beautiful demon murderers of the sea. Total assholes, I hear. Top of the food chain. So we saw a pod of orcas, counted them to be about 10 or 15, with some babies scattered in there. Very fun to watch. Took them a good 30 minutes to all go by. We tried to get pictures, but it was just dark enough that our shitty phone cameras weren't really much good. Another 30 or 40 minutes go by, and we've all pretty much sobered up, and it's about to get dark, and we're cold and sleepy and about to go in. No more orcas. Haven't seen one in just about a half hour or so. And then one of my JV girls spots another one. So we all turn and look, but one dorsal fin is immediately followed by another, and another, and another, and then two more, and then two more after that, in two separate rows, and they're taller by a lot and jagged, like some have whole chunks torn out of them. And they're about 8 to 10 feet high, and they're all attached to one creature. And we can just barely see its back slicing through the water, covered in these rows of spikes, and it's just it keeps coming. This thing is like 20 feet from the ferry, running parallel to it, and we all have transfixed on this. There's like 9 or 10 of us, and no one is saying a word because we've all turned to look at a whale, and we are all now watching something that is like horrifically, terrifyingly, obviously not a whale. Someone tries to take a picture, but it's too dark at this point, and the only reason we can see the thing is the light cast from the ferry portals. This takes us as old as time when it comes to things that you really fucking wish that you had a picture of. But we all stand there completely scared, fucking stiff, and in awe, and we watch this thing just keep surfing for a good 6 or 7 minutes, which means that whatever it was long, like 60 or 70 feet or longer, and covered in enormous spikes. Spikes that look like they'd won thousands of battles with God knows what. It took 1,000 of no, I'm sorry. It took what felt like an eternity for any of us to say anything after the last of it disappeared back into the strait. I mean, if you and I and if you if you and like disappeared back in if you I'm sorry, I mean if you and like 8 of your friends had just all seen something science had definitely pointed to not existing, and you had all seen the same exact thing, and it was very obviously trailing, nay, hunting, not one but 15 something apex fucking predators, what do you even say to break that silence? Hmm. That's the thing that eats me about the whole thing. It was hunting. It was following them. It was literally hunting about 60 tons of toothy, angry, intelligent apex predators. Every once in a while, one of us will hit another one of us up and check in. Like, do you remember this? Was I hallucinating? Do we all see the same thing? Insane, worldview melting, terrifying thing that night. And the reason I know we did is because none of us talked about it after that. Not during the trip, not after, not to any of our friends, because how the fuck do you even tell someone about something like that? Now we must have almost been, now it's almost been about 10 years between us. And that night I assumed that them of shit like that in Alaska, and I'm that bitch. And also because there's a rich history among Native Alaskans of a something that lives and hunts in the waters around Kodiak. And it's important to tell the story because it's going to eat a little too much plastic, and no one will ever watch it hunt a pod of orcas from a boat ever again. Hmm. Sorry about that crappy reading. I just, yeah, my bad. Anyway, uh, well, tell you what, I mean, we've only, I think we've only touched like 5% of the ocean floors. Now that's the ocean floor, not the ocean, but the floor of the ocean. Only like 5% of the ocean floors have really been only been, um, what would you call it? Looked at. A word for it. I just can't think of it. I'm like totally brain farting. Absolutely. Man. Okay. Well. Anyway. So why that's funner than fun. Oh, I just started feeling kind of fun. So thank you. I totally believe, man. You know that water stuff. Anything. There's so much in water that like I always say, we probably should be looking down instead of up, or you know, anything alien stuff or whatever. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, man. I'm terribly sorry about that. I just, yeah, I'm sorry about feeling that. All right. All right. Orange, Orange Tang Librarian. Okay. This is from Orange Tang Librarian. I used to go running and take a break at a train bridge in Iowa City when I went to school there. I did a lot of night runs, sometimes only after dark. I'd hear something swimming around at the train bridge, maybe human or deer size. One time it was late and I heard it again, but this time I could see something dark on the water. Looked like a profile of a very large head. Oh, I hate when that happens. I was just saying. Um, I said, hello, someone there. It stopped dead in its tracks and looked at me. It was dark, but I could tell it was looking right at me. This went on for 30 seconds or so, and then it went under, and I never saw or heard it again. Uh, I told myself it was a person swimming, but why not say hi back? Also, where did it go under to? It was a slow river. I would have heard it surfacing or getting out of the water unless it went over 100 feet. That's the closest thing to a cryptid I've seen and known about. For some people are saying beavers and otters. I've seen river otters, but not in the U.S. It was far too big to be a normal sized one. I've never seen the 6 foot ones, and I don't think they live anywhere near Iowa. Uh, I'm not sure about, but it was much too big to be a beaver too. I saw those all the time, and they're usually denoted by telltale signs such as dams and chewed trees. Also, I've never seen beavers active at night, only during the day. I think it was probably just a person, maybe a homeless person who wanted to not be bothered by me. As I said, that's the closest thing I've come to seeing a cryptid. I know the original post asked for people that are 100% sure, but it was late at night and I felt appropriate to tell the story. Well, thank you for telling that story. I like I said, I like getting these emails, any stories. I love it. Thank you. This is out of Ghetto Gero. Ghetto Gero. All right, walking through the woods for fun. I walked through a field where where they were there were tiny fluorescent jellyfish-like things floating through the air, maybe half an inch or 2 inches in size. I initially thought it was some kind of plant spores or something moving in the wind, but when I looked at them close, they were actually moving independently. That was about 2006. I spent months going through those woods and after in that field over and over again with the camera trying to find them, but I never seen them since. That's pretty cool. Um, what I'm saying, it's those little things like that where you're like, wait a minute, and there's something to that. And I don't know what, but I can't wait to get more people that want to call in and talk about this because it fascinates me. This from Gis JB. Here's mine. This was back in the late 90s when myself and two of my friends were staying at their vacation home in the local rivers. The house, think 3 small bedroom, a sitting room, kitchen, and a small external bathroom, is on a privately owned island, not theirs, which is used for cattle grazing, and is about 3 to 4 square miles in area. It is accessible by only one dirt road, which takes all of about 30 minutes to travel down, as it bends and winds through its dense cypress swamps full of alligators and marsh plains. Along the road, there is one other house. Just as you get into the land, which has long been abandoned, this this old two-story plantation-style home was supposedly abandoned when the owners, a married couple, child suffered a fatal accident, and they couldn't stand being there anymore. Aside from my friend's house, the cattle farmer's home, and one other vacation home, the abandoned property is the only other structure there. Well, my friends and I were out on the dock doing something night fishing, trying to land a shark or something to throw on the grill, Go. But we hadn't had much luck. The river it was smooth as glass, which was really unusual because of where the dock is. The current there is usually very strong, even during the tide shift. We sat and chatted, waiting for a bite, up until about 11 p.m. Then, off to our right, towards the coast, we heard a loud tone, or wail, which sounded like a mix between a ship's horn or maybe a wolf howl or something similar. An important note, the island is by car nearly an hour from deep water access and probably more than from actual ocean, so the likelihood that the sound was a large ship is very, very low. So anyway, we are startled by the sound, and even my friend, who had been spending his summers there since he was in diapers, had never heard the noise before and was bothered by it. So we decided to pack it in, since we weren't having any luck catching anything, and we had nearly gotten all our equipment back to the house when my second friend heard the same thing. Coming from down the road back towards the island of access was that sound, either like a cat meowing or a child crying. We all stood in silence listening and trying to figure out what it was and where it was coming from. After listening for about 5 minutes, we decided to hop in the truck and drive down the road a ways with the windows down so we can try to find out what was making the sound. What started out sounding like a cat, which, man, they sound just nightmares when they're making that noise, was made clear we got further up the road that it was not the case. We could clearly hear a child, and it sounded like it was saying, "Help me." We drove very slow, calling out, and we'd wait a few minutes and hear, "Help me," again, but always further up the road, toward the swamps and the old abandoned house. Whoa. We were seriously freaked out because if it was a kid out there, they would why would they be going from our calls and light into the swamp? We nearly made it all the way to the abandoned house when the second sound just stopped. We waited for nearly an hour and never heard it again. We marked it up as nerves and headed back to the river house, assuming it had been an animal after that, and that we were all probably just imagining, it saying words or something. Well, after we had gotten back inside and settled in for the night, we started hearing it again. But as time passed, it came closer to us. We went out and called out again, and the sound would come closer. This went on for hours. Well, we decided we would try one more time to see if there was a kid lost or something. Again, important to note, we are miles from the next nearest people, and the noise sounded like a child, think 4, 5 years old. But once we got in the truck again, the noise stopped. It's now nearly 3 in the morning, and we had been out in the sun fishing and swimming all day, so we were all tired. And after driving around a bit, calling out again, with no luck, we decided to give up. We get back inside again and get into our bed. Then we hear it again, clear as a bell. "Help me," right outside the house. But it sounded so strange, like it was an echo, if that makes any sense. Like it was close but far away too. And like hell if any of us were brave enough to go commando and leave the house. But we went onto the porch, which was screened in for bugs, and listened. As soon as we went out, it would stop, go back into the beds. It would call out again, but in a different location outside the house. It circled the house, calling all night. We all slept in the living room, but to be honest, there wasn't a lot of sleeping happening. In the morning, we went out and looked for tracks around the house, as the foundation is basically sand. There was a mark, no prints, and there wasn't a mark, no prints, animal or otherwise. And to the best of my knowledge, this happened again to my friend. And this, no, I'm sorry, this never happened again to my friend or any visitors. To this day, we don't know what we heard, but it's probably the most supernatural occurrence we've ever experienced. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Uh, that does sound terrifying. Great story, though. Um, wow, I don't know. I wonder if they looked around the floors or anything. Well, all right. That's a crazy story. I don't know, man. I've heard like things like that where, you know, it happens like that. Well, I need to take a break anyway because I just started feeling so it's not too well. So I'm going to leave you with the half-hour story break. And I will be right back. Don't go anywhere, for these are great stories as well. I want to thank you guys for joining me on another show today. I always love doing these with you guys. And have a wonderful weekend. Join me tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. I will be doing another show Saturday. Yep, I will be. Yeah, another one tomorrow. So join me. Thank you for joining me on